Here's an interesting stat. In 2023, more Canadians will turn 60 than any other age. Expect most of those birthday parties to go well past 9 p.m. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Same Life. On this weekly podcast, topics, discussions, stories from our lives.
Season 9, Chapter 13.
Turning
60.
Perhaps it wasn't the best idea to open a podcast about getting older with an ageist joke. More on the plague of ageism in a moment or two. First, that stat. More Canadians turning 60 this year than any other age. More than 500,000 people, 545,000. We tend to mark our significant birthdays, right? Starts with the 16, because now we're driving. 18, because we're sort of an adult now, we can vote. And then it starts to vary by jurisdiction, legal age, 19, 20. Certainly 21 is a milestone, because now you are legal pretty much all around the world. You can have a cocktail in Qatar or bet the wad in Vegas. Let it ride, I'm 21. At 21, if you're a world citizen, you are grown up pretty much everywhere you go. And after that, our milestones are usually in round numbers. The big birthdays are turning 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And we even have a few centurions around. I don't think they're actually called centurions, but I like the term. Actually, worldwide, about 500,000 folks over 100. Oldest person in the world, about 116. Hard to say, difficult to be exact. I'm always amazed at the more extreme ages. Can you imagine turning 100 and imagining that you're going to live another couple of decades after that? I bet you those years fly by. My mom retired in her early 60s, and then she lived 30 more years after that. Michael Caine, Willie Nelson, Carol Burnett, others recently turned 90. And we're not just applauding them for, hanging in there. They seem vital. Well, we all hope for a long and healthy life. Life expectancy in Canada, the average is around 81. Let's get back to 60. I think that is the most important milestone birthday in our lives. 20, 30, 40, 50, they're all cool markers indeed. 50, wow, I've lived a half a century. Makes it sound like a long time, but come on, you're 50. You're a pup. 60, though. Well, your 60s can make you feel old. Like, now I'm a senior. And not senior in a good way, although I'm sure that's what the original intention was. Senior, seniority, senior management. I am senior to you. But no, you're a senior citizen. You get a discount at the movie theater. Except you don't go to the movie theater anymore because, well, it's too loud and they don't make good movies anymore like they used to. You forego the movies because it's more fun to go to Senior's Day at the pharmacy. They also have a good price on eggs. Let's be honest, 60 means old person. 60 is the age you stop counting up and start counting down, even if it's just subconsciously. I'm not saying 60 is old or that people 60 and over aren't relevant. I'm just saying that 60 and up is when the number starts messing with your brain. Age is just a number. You've heard people say that, right? They use the phrase to say that age doesn't really matter. Well, then why don't we say age is just an attitude? Age is just a feeling. No, we say age is just a number. I agree, but 60 is a high number. Suddenly 60 sounds high, and it's going to just keep getting higher, which I guess is still better than the alternative. By the way, have you seen those reverse mortgage ads starring Kurt Browning? Because when most people want financial advice, they immediately turn to a figure skater. Elvis Stoico does my taxes. Anyway, the old ads used to say that to be eligible for this reverse mortgage, you had to be 55 or older. But on the new ads, Kurt Browning now says 55 and better.
Tens of thousands of Canadian homeowners, age 55 and better, access tax-free cash.
If you are 55 or better and own your own home, the change is noticeable. And, hey, thanks, appreciate the effort.
You know what? I love it.
Replacing the word older with better, but it doesn't change the number. Age is just a number. 60 is senior citizen time. Gray power, older and wiser, better. 60 is the new 40. It doesn't matter how you frame it. Time is no longer on your side. Even if you are one of those statistical freaks, live to be 100, that's just another 40 years. Less than half the time you've already lived. You're probably saying to yourself, the first 60 happened so fast. I suppose the next 40 will be even faster. And I guess if you think it happened all too fast, that's a good thing. Time flies when you're having fun. I believe that to be true. I believe in the fraction theory when it comes to aging. As you age, each year is a smaller fraction of your overall life. When you're 5 years old and you want a new bike, and your folks say that you'll get one next year, man, that's forever. A year? That's 1/5 of your entire life. But at 60, and put down your calculator, I'll just tell you the answer, it's 1/60th of your life. It's a snap of the fingers. Boom, done. Another year has gone by. What happened? Was I out? More Canadians will turn 60 this year than any other age. This also means that about 1/5, 20% of our population is 60 and better. And by the way, in the U.S., it's also about 20%. In Canada especially, we talk about our aging population. Yeah, we talk a lot about it. This almost officially marks the end of youthful boomers. Baby boomer generation generally thought to be people born between 1946 and 1964. So soon, if not almost now, every living boomer is an old person, a senior citizen. And, sorry if you don't like the term, but it is what it is. This is a societal shift. With aging can come a lot of positive things, but also generally there's reduced income, the inevitable health challenges, and as a society, are we doing enough to address these issues? Doesn't seem so. You'd think governments and elected officials would be more sensitive to this, because after all, old people vote. You know, the upper demographic. We do tend to vote, but we're also more cynical. We vote, but, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. We won't get fooled again. And, hey, let me tell you about demographics, these age categories that separate population into marketing opportunities. This is how they break us down. Teens, 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, and then 55 plus. So even after 55, you suddenly belong to just a category, 55 plus, I don't know, whatever, 55 to 116. You're pretty much one category. After 55, they don't care to break you up into these smaller brackets. You're just old. You're a senior. You're 55 plus. If you're 55 or, better, why would they market to you? You have less extra money. Your mind is already mostly made up. It can rarely be swayed by advertising. You consume less media. Why bother with you? That is how a lot of companies view the older generations. Now, I will say this, that if you watch older skewing media like news shows, reruns, old movies, there is still a lot of marketing coming your way. But guess what? It's mostly for reverse mortgages, cashing in your retirement funds or your old life insurance policy, medicines for your aches and pains, and discount bus trips to the casino. That's how they see you if you are turning 60 or better.
You know what? I love it.
It's ageism. I see it, feel it all the time. I'd love to say, by the way, that I'm one of those Canadians turning 60 this year, but in fact, for me, that's already happened at least a couple of times.
Happy birthday, asshole.
Ageism. It does come up occasionally as a cause du jour. Stop ageism. But it persists. And perhaps I'm getting it as payback. You know, if you believe in karma. I've never been a racist, a misogynist, a homophobe, none of that. But I admit, I was an ageist. Made fun of old people. Hey, they moved too slow. They were forgetful. They didn't see or hear as well. They thought they knew it all. They were grumpy. They were out of fashion. They smelled funny. On and on. Name a senior stereotype, and I probably held it. Now, stereotypes exist for a reason, but then they lead to preconceived notions about everyone in that category, and that's the mistake we make. I made it. And now, as someone who has turned 60 a few times, I get it all the time. People just treat you differently, not always horribly, just differently. Just because your hair is white, your skin shows a little wear and tear, or you shuffle a little bit, you get treated a certain way, less respectfully, more dismissively, while in your mind you're saying, I feel mostly like I'm still the same person, but they treat me as if I was old. They treat me differently, I react differently. I miss the days of being treated normally. I also miss flirting. I had to give up flirting. I mean, flirting at any time was always an age-sensitive activity. But after 60, you got to give it up entirely. It's just too weird.
Happy birthday, asshole.
Ageism, it's everywhere. Look at what's happening in the U.S. right now. Biden's age, Trump's age, Pelosi, McConnell, Feinstein. Yeah, I get it. Some of these people might have legitimate issues. But they talk about age in such an ageist way. They're too old. It's time for new blood. Give someone younger a chance, and so on and so on. Hey, no one is asking these people to quarterback the Miami Dolphins. We're just asking these people to apply their knowledge, experience, and wisdom to the benefit of the electorate. Nope, they're too old. You know, staying on the job, staying relevant, keeping up is one of the ways people battle aging. And notice the terms we use in Western culture. Battle aging, anti-aging. You're as young as you feel. You're 80 years young. All this to say that aging is negative. Something to be battled. I guess, yeah, sure, we all want to live longer. You know, most of us. We mostly already know how to do that, by the way. Don't drink, don't smoke, exercise, and avoid sugar and processed foods. That's something that almost anyone anywhere can do right now and live longer. And will we? Or will it just seem longer? Anyway, we don't do it. Certainly in the developed nations, despite increased stress and more drive-through food, we do live longer. Life expectancy numbers do go up. But anti-aging these days is not only big science, it is big business. The science. According to David Sinclair, he's the director of the Harvard Medical School's Paul F. Glenn Center for Biology of Aging Research. His name and title take up the entire door to his office. He has said it is very possible that the first person who will live to be 150 has already been born. The reasons for this statement refer to a lot of scientific research into medicines that slow the processes associated with aging, combating age-related diseases with medicines, serums, and potions, if you will. It's real stuff. They have a term for it. It's biohacking. Science has high hopes for it. However, if you're one of those Canadians turning 60 this year, biohacking, may help you. It's possible. But it's not going to get you to that 150 number. If, in fact, there is a person on this earth right now who will live to be 150, they'd first have to fit a lot of categories. They'd have to be very young right now, not born to poverty or in a war zone, live a life of minimal stress, with no tobacco, alcohol, sugar, or processed foods, avoid recreational pharmaceuticals, survive climate change, and eventually take biohacking medicines. And boom, they'd be 150. Good luck. There are three main methods people use for anti-aging, or to stay young, if I can use that expression. These three methods are named from popular culture. They are Wolverine, Dorian Gray, and Peter Pan. One is Wolverine. That's the principle of reversing the aging process. That's the science. That's the biohacking. The rest is big business. Dorian Gray. That involves ignoring how old you are in physical years and trying to look as youthful as possible. There is some science here too, but it's mostly business. Plastic surgery, Botox, vitamin injections, hair, makeup, clothes, anything to look younger. And hey, if it makes you happy, have at it. But here's the one thing about old people trying to look younger. They don't actually look younger. If anything, they look older because they don't just look older in the first place, they look like an older person trying to look younger, which makes them look even older. I.e., you're fooling no one. Maybe not even yourself. Stopping or reversing the aging, that's Wolverine. Trying to look younger, that's the Dorian Gray. And number 3 is Peter Pan. Just never get old in the first place. Obviously, this is more of a mental game, and hey, I'm with you on that. I mean, don't get childish and immature, but staying young in that sense, why not? But back to my point, the one I think we're mostly missing is that it's called anti-aging. We're battling aging. We battle things we are against. We are anti things that we feel are wrong. What's wrong with aging? You know, in Western culture, there's very little of this holding our elders to an elevated position, ensuring their comfort, and seeking their wisdom, being grateful for their contributions so far. We don't do that. We say, you're too old. Retirement age is usually somewhere in our 60s, you know. Some people look forward to it their entire lives. Retiring in my 60s. Quitting, walking away, giving up, put out to pasture. Battling aging seems in our society to be a better idea than actually battling ageism. There is one other way. It's called making the most of whatever time you have. Quality versus quantity. And yes, I know quantity has a quality all of its own, but they have a term for this too. They call it self-span versus life-span. Like plan for tomorrow, but live for today. Turning 60 is a demarcation point. More so than any other milestone birthday. This year in Canada, it's the most popular birthday number. Look for a run on turning 60 Hallmark cards. Hey, do people still buy birthday cards? Well, you know, the ones who turn 60 do, and so do their friends. As I said, in my opinion, 60 is the line between older and old. Hey, feel however you want to feel. Do whatever you want to do. Dye your hair, buy a sports car. I don't care. But the number is the number. There have been some initiatives in Canada so far, people getting together to say that, hey, we're turning 60 this year. And they want to say, hey, we're not old. We still do things. We still have much to offer. Hey, I agree. But this is exactly what I mean. That's the feeling of turning 60. I feel I have to say something about it. If the number didn't mean old, then you wouldn't have to organize and stand up and say, hey, I'm not old. So you're 60 and you're still young and all that, and that's good. And, you know, try this again in 10 years when you turn 70, or when you do 80, 90. 60 is when it starts changing quickly. When Betty White died just shy of 100, I made a list of famous people over 90. I've kept it up since. I already mentioned that recently joining the club were Michael Caine, Carol Burnett, Willie Nelson, Robert Blake, was just months shy of joining the nonagenarians. We just lost Tony Bennett. He was 93. There's still lots of people 90 plus on the list. Mel Brooks, Bob Barker, Dr. Ruth, Barbara Feldon, Dan Rather, Bob Newhart, Buzz Aldrin. It's a long list. Side note, Mick Jagger just turned 80. He's only a few weeks older than Joe Biden. Which of those two 80s would you like to be? For this podcast, I looked at some famous people turning or turned 60 in 2023, along with these, 500,000 Canadians. Some might amaze. Julian Lennon, a Beatle kid, is 60. Michael Jordan, Vanessa Williams, Conan O'Brien, Quentin Tarantino, Mike Myers, Johnny Depp, Helen Hunt, Lisa Kudrow, John Stamos, Bret Michaels, Greg Kinnear, Edie Falco, Jet Li. Brad Pitt is 60 this year. Celebrities, we may still see them as the same person from Friends or The Sopranos or SNL, whatever, until one day they pop up on a talk show or something and they're 60. And even if they look great, we say, oh, they're 60. It's the same way we might feel about ourselves if we don't look in the mirror every day. And I mean really look. I guess I'd better check my friends list on Facebook, see who's turning 60 this year. And then on Seniors Day, head over to the drugstore to get a birthday card for them. Oh, and remind me while I'm there to pick up some eggs.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.
And you know what? I love it.